Your mother is fighting for her life in a hospital bed, and when you track down your dad at a luxury hotel, you find him half naked with the family's second mom. Tiffany Mann hit Instagram Live seconds later, and what she revealed didn't just break one home, it blew the entire gospel world wide open. Stay right here, because the receipts you're about to see will change everything you thought you knew. Tiffany never planned to go live that day. There was no rehearsal, no intention to go public. Just pain raw, unrehearsed, and too big to contain. And then she said it. I walked in on my dad and Dr. Jackie in a hotel room. With that, the carefully polished image of a beloved gospel family shattered in real time. Tiffany Mann, once the quiet daughter of gospel legends, was now center stage not by choice, but by betrayal. The woman she had grown up admiring, who prayed beside her own mother, who smiled across dinner tables like family, was now the very person in bed with her father. Dr. Jackie had been more than a guest in their home. She was woven into the fabric of their lives through surgeries, Sunday dinners, and shared prayers. And now, she was the one wrapped in hotel sheets beside Tiffany's father. It began just 48 hours earlier. Tiffany had landed in Dallas ahead of schedule, planning to surprise her dad, David Mann, before a family brunch. But when her texts went unanswered and her calls went straight to voicemail, something in her gut stirred. A shared Uber receipt revealed his last stop, the hotel downtown. Room 924. She stood in the hallway, her heart racing. Please let me be wrong, she whispered. But when the door opened, there was no misunderstanding what she saw. Her father, shirtless, Dr. Jackie, mid-movement and half-dressed. Three people, frozen in silence. And then Tiffany screamed, not a scream of shock, but of soul-deep agony, the kind that breaks the air around you. She ran down the hallway, into the elevator, out of the hotel. The lobby staff didn't need to ask what happened, they could feel it. Her hands were trembling when she got into her car. And instead of calling a friend, she opened Instagram. Not for attention, for oxygen, for truth. I caught my father and the woman I trusted most in a hotel room, like lovers. And they didn't even look sorry. Within minutes, tens of thousands were watching. Within the hour, the viewership exploded. Pastors, celebrities, fans, and followers flooded her comments. And then, the unthinkable Tiffany Mann, her mother, was rushed to the ER. She had been battling fatigue and heart issues for weeks, quietly. But when a friend showed her the clip, something inside her gave out. She collapsed. Doctors had to sedate her. And while the world processed what had just happened, Tiffany kept speaking. She used to call me her daughter, she said through tears. She prayed with me. She sat at our table like family. And all this time, she was sneaking around with my dad like this was a Tyler Perry movie gone demonic. David didn't deny it. Worse, he shifted the blame. You were old enough to understand, he told her, as if betrayal was something she could have prepared for. As if her heart was supposed to read the warning signs he never gave. This wasn't just family drama. It wasn't scandal for the blogs. It was a spiritual implosion, a rupture in trust that echoed beyond bloodlines. This wasn't a fall from grace, it was grace being torn apart. Tiffany didn't go live to break the internet. She went live because silence would have killed her. And once her voice filled that screen, the world could no longer pretend. This was never just a rumor. It was a truth wrapped in church clothes and gospel lyrics. A ticking time bomb of hidden sin finally brought to light. And Tiffany, heartbroken and trembling, lit the match. Because some betrayals don't whisper, they explode. The internet didn't break that night, it combusted. With a single unfiltered sentence, Tiffany Mann detonated the illusion of a gospel family. This isn't just betrayal. This is emotional murder, she said, eyes puffy, voice hoarse, yet impossibly steady. The words caught like wildfire. It wasn't just fans watching. Churchgoers, gossip bloggers, pastors, and skeptics alike froze mid-scroll. What they were witnessing wasn't entertainment. It was a full-blown spiritual implosion. Dr. Jackie, once praised as a gentle spiritual leader, was now being flamed across timelines as everything from a sanctified seductress to a wolf in gospel clothing. Old pictures began of Jackie and David Mann, too close, too casual, too comfortable to ignore. People dug into archives, finding the video where Dr. Jackie stood before the Mann family at their anniversary event, eyes raised to the heavens, blessing the very union she would later be accused of poisoning. The internet had receipts. They were ruthless. David, meanwhile, stayed silent. But in a moment like this, silence wasn't noble, it was damning. And Dr. Jackie disappeared altogether. No sermons, no updates, not even a cryptic post. Her absence only gave oxygen to the wildfire. Rumors took root. Some claimed this wasn't their first time. Others whispered that Tiffany Mann knew all along and kept it under wraps to preserve the family's pristine public image. A few even said Dr. Jackie's spiritual counseling for David had been a cover for something far more intimate. But Tiffany wasn't finished. Hours after her live confession, she returned with a new post, no tears this time. Just quiet, devastation. She held up a framed photo of her parents on their wedding day and whispered, "I used to pray I'd have a love like theirs." Then she let the photo fall. The glass shattered across the floor. No edits, no soundtrack, just the raw sound of a legacy breaking apart. That moment silenced the doubters. There was no question anymore, this was real. It was personal. And it was far from over. Tiffany didn't shrink back from the attention. She leaned into the storm. While David dodged interviews and Dr. Jackie stayed ghosted, Tiffany's voice only grew louder. Within 24 hours, she was seated at the red table. No script, no PR team, just her truth and a trembling hand wrapped around her water glass. "You want to know the worst part?" she asked, locking eyes with the camera. "It's not just that. I caught them in the hotel. It's that they made me feel like I was the problem. Like I was crazy for walking in." She paused. The studio was silent. "I thought I'd find my dad praying or getting ready for his conference. Instead, I found Dr. Jackie. In his bed, in his robe, and they didn't even flinch, like they'd been doing it for months." Her jaw clenched as she continued. "I started crying. I begged my dad to explain. And you know what he said? 'Tiff, you're too old to act like this. Grown folks got grown business.'" The host leaned back in her chair, stunned. The silence that followed spoke volumes. Tiffany's voice sharpened. "The man who raised me in gospel, who preached faithfulness, was lying next to the same woman who used to lead my mom's prayer circle." Then she pulled out her phone, tapped her voice memos, and played a clip. David's voice filled the air. "Ain't nothing wrong with me and Jackie being close," he said. "She needs me. Tam ain't been herself in years. You think I'm gonna be a lonely man forever?" The reaction in the room was instant. The audience gasped. Tiffany's face tightened. "That clip wasn't from after I found them. That was a week before. So don't tell me it was a mistake. That was a decision. That was premeditated betrayal." Her voice cracked now, not with weakness but with fury. "My mom is in a hospital bed right now, fighting for her life. And while she was fighting for her next breath, my dad was laying up with Dr. Jackie." The camera zoomed in as Tiffany blinked back tears. "And you know what hurts the most?" she whispered. "Jackie used to sit beside my mother's bed, pray over her, bring soup, smile in our faces, all while stabbing us in the back. Then came the receipts." Tiffany opened her phone again. "You want proof?" she said. "I checked our home security footage. The night Jackie told us she was going to Bible study, her car pulled up to my dad's studio at 10:37 p.m. A chill ran through the studio. "Don't let her soft voice fool you," Tiffany warned. "She knew exactly what she was doing. She took my mother's place in church, in ministry, and now, in marriage." One host hesitated before asking, "Wait, are you saying?" Tiffany nodded solemnly. "I found divorce papers. My mom never signed them. But my dad, he filed while she was in a coma. And guess who signed a supporting affidavit? Dr. Jackie." The set erupted. The hosts were speechless. Tiffany's voice broke again. "I trusted her. I called her Mama J. She did my hair before prom. And all this time, she was waiting. Waiting for my mother to fade so she could slide in." She leaned forward, eyes locked on the camera. "This isn't just gossip. This is spiritual fraud. This is emotional abuse. And this is the deepest kind of betrayal a daughter could ever experience." By the end of the episode, the were everywhere. Hashtag canceled David Mann. Hashtag Dr. Jackie the Snake. Hashtag pray for Tamila. Hashtag justice for Tiffany. But this wasn't just social media buzz. Real-world consequences were stirring. David's church board called an emergency Zoom. In a leaked clip, one elder said firmly, "If any of this is true, David's license must be revoked. We cannot allow wolves in shepherd's clothing." Meanwhile, Dr. Jackie tried to clean up the mess. She posted a quiet 2-minute apology. No makeup, swollen eyes, and a soft voice barely above a whisper. "We're all broken," she said. "I never meant to hurt anyone. I only ever loved the Mann family." The internet was brutal. "You loved them by sleeping with their dad," one commenter posted. "Tamala is in a coma, and you're uploading apology videos. Go be broken, somewhere else." And just when the world thought it had heard it all, Tamala's sister opened her own Instagram live and she wasn't holding back. Jackie was never the innocent figure she projected, at least not to those who were really watching. According to Tamila's sister, the signs had always been their lingering touches. Stolen glances, laughter that felt a little too intimate. "I told Tam," she said. "I warned her." But Tamila always believed in the good in people. That's her tragedy. That's why she's lying in silence, while the woman she called her best friend slowly erases her legacy. As the scandal deepened, the internet became a digital crime scene. Old footage from gospel concerts resurfaced, moments where Jackie stood too close to David, where their chemistry played out like a private joke in a public arena. Glimpses that once seemed harmless now screamed with subtext. Fans began asking, had this affair been years in the making? Tiffany returned to social media with fire in her eyes and fury in her thumbs. "You can delete your comments, Jackie, but you can't delete the truth," she wrote. "I'm coming for every lie you told, every value you broke, and every ounce of peace you stole from my mother." That single post made headlines. Blogs dubbed it the gospel scandal of the decade. Bet reached out to Tiffany for a primetime special. Meanwhile, Jackie's clinic was being protested by former patients and furious churchgoers, and David's return to the pulpit was a disaster. Only 6 people showed up. The rest, they were tuned into Tiffany, watching her dismantle the facade, piece by piece. And the story wasn't done unraveling. The real explosion came in part 3 when the courtroom entered the chat. Dr. Jackie found herself at the center of a civil lawsuit filed by Tiffany Mann's estate. The documents included a nurse's sworn statement, questions around a missing trust fund, and allegations of manipulated power of attorney documents signed during Tamila's hospitalization. The moment Tiffany's second life ended, the internet divided those who stood with her and those clinging to denial, praying it was all just a tragic misunderstanding. But Tiffany wasn't letting up. Before dawn, she sat down with a Black-owned YouTube outlet. Her hands trembled around a tissue, but her voice was steel. "They didn't just break my heart," she said, eyes burning with truth. "They broke the spirit of every daughter who ever trusted her father, every young woman who ever looked up to a mentor like Dr. Jackie. They treated sacred things like they were disposable." The interviewer wisely said nothing. The internet was already ablaze. #TiffanyTells shot to #1 on Twitter. Fans began reposting clips of Dr. Jackie publicly praising Tamala in past interviews, calling her a sister in Christ. Then, photos emerged, grainy but damning, of Jackie and David just weeks earlier in a hotel hallway. David in a hoodie, Jackie a step behind, both smiling. Unaware a hotel employee had snapped the shot. Tiffany wasn't finished. "You want to know what hurts the most?" she asked, voice cracking. "When I was 13, my mama had vocal cord surgery. She couldn't speak, couldn't even eat. I was terrified. And Dr. Jackie, she was there, holding my hand, praying over us like she was family. And all that time, she was already watching my father. Like prey." The comments section erupted. "She groomed the family," someone wrote. "This wasn't an accident. This was planned. Strategic betrayal." Then Tiffany dropped what many called the final bomb. She pulled out her phone during the interview and played a voice memo. Crackling through the speaker came a hushed conversation from what sounded like a hotel room. David's voice. "She doesn't need to know. We're not hurting anyone." Jackie's. "She's not a child anymore. David. And Tamala's gone. This is our time now." Silence. The interviewer looked stunned. Viewers around the world dropped their phones. It wasn't a theory anymore. It wasn't even just betrayal. It was recorded confession. Tiffany turned to the camera one last time, fire behind her eyes. "I used to pray for Dr. Jackie. Now I pray she never touches another family again." The video soared past 4 million views in under 8 hours. Gospel radio stations began quietly canceling interviews with David. Churches pulled promotional material for Jackie's upcoming women's conference. Behind the scenes, publicists panicked, but the storm had already landed, and Tiffany wasn't hiding. She was leading it. By the next day, Tiffany Mann's former gospel label released a statement. It was vague, but potent. "In honor of Sister Tamila's legacy, we stand with truth, transparency, and the protection of women's voices, especially daughters who refused to stay silent. That was all it took. Instagram pages once dedicated to gospel inspiration turned into expose hubs. Fans reposted Tiffany's live with captions like, "This wasn't drama, this was deliverance." But just when it seemed the dust was settling, Jackie resurfaced. A pre-recorded video dropped on her official page, titled, "My Truth, The Whole Story." Dressed in white, flanked by crosses and symbols of faith, Dr. Jackie didn't apologize. She justified. "I never intended to hurt anyone," she said. David was broken. Tamela hadn't been present for years. What Tiffany saw was only part of the story. She paused, then added, "I've given my life to healing and ministry. And yes, maybe we got too close. But it wasn't betrayal. It was grief misunderstood." The backlash was swift. "You betrayed a dying woman's daughter," one comment read. "You're not the victim. Go grieve offline." But Tiffany clapped back fast. This time, she filmed from Tamela's hospital room. Her mother, awake but frail, stared directly into the lens. Tiffany didn't misunderstand anything. Tamela whispered, "I saw the signs. I just didn't want to believe them. Jackie was supposed to be family. She used my illness to step into my home." The internet wept. This wasn't infidelity. It was spiritual violation. A sacred bond desecrated. Later that evening, Tamela's legal team issued a cease and desist against Dr. Jackie for using her name in promotional materials without consent, and more shockingly, they filed a defamation suit, accusing Jackie of spreading a false narrative that twisted emotional vulnerability into romantic justification. The gospel world collapsed. Bishop T.D. Jakes quietly canceled an appearance with Jackie. Kirk Franklin unfollowed David Mann on all platforms. Award committees pulled Jackie's name from honorary rosters. But the deepest blow came from within the Mann family. David Mann, Jr., David and Tamela's son, posted a story that simply read, "I told y'all years ago, no one listened. But Tiffany did what the rest of us were too scared to do." Now, it wasn't just a scandal. It was a civil war. Fans took sides. Some stood behind Tiffany and Tamela, sharing their own stories of betrayal by mentors and fathers. Others, fewer but vocal, defended Jackie, painting her as a woman consumed by mourning. But then came the final Reseda-leaked hotel surveillance clip. Time-stamped at 2 a.m., it showed David entering a hotel room. Seconds later, Jackie followed, laughing, holding hands. No grief, no prayer, just confirmation. That was the end of silence. David deleted his socials. Jackie disabled her comments. Tiffany, however, stood tall. In her final video of the week, she didn't cry. She didn't rage. She simply looked into the lens and said, "I'm not broken anymore. I'm rebuilding from truth." The screen faded to black. But the story didn't dot, so now what? You think Tiffany's walking away from this? From the lies, the collapse, the revelation that her family was a stage and she was the only one not acting. No, this isn't over. This isn't drama, it's spiritual warfare. David Mann isn't just a father now. He's the face of duplicity. And Dr. Jackie, she's not a beloved church figure anymore. She's the storm that tore a legacy apart in the dark hand. Now the light's on. Tamela hasn't said much since. Her silence is louder than any sermon. And the fans, they're not just angry, they're activated. Digging, posting, uncovering. Because what Tiffany exposed wasn't the full story. It was just the crack in the glass. And here's the twist: sources claim this affair wasn't isolated. Allegedly, Jackie and David had been traveling together for years, church retreats, ministry events, quiet dinners booked under aliases. Now, people want proof. They're combing receipts, timestamps, livestream archives. This fire isn't dying. It's just beginning. Because if you think this story was betrayal, just wait. Dr. Jackie's husband is about to speak, and what he reveals could make this whole thing look like the calm before the real storm.